Here's the drum processing chain used by 16-time Grammy Award winner Jaycen Joshua in his work with Rosalia, The Weeknd, Doja Cat, and Future, to name a few. Joshua's production philosophy for all of his buses is to treat each one as if it's being mixed and mastered individually. Each bus is processed like a track of its own, but always within the broader context of the mix. Joshua begins his drum bus chain with Waves' R-Bass, a bass enhancement plugin that generates harmonics based on the frequency set here. Joshua emphasizes that drums aren't just about 100 Hz, they're also 400 and 500 Hz, which contribute to their warm, fuzzy character. Next in the chain is the Shadow Hills mastering compressor, set to a 90% dry-wet mix, allowing a small portion of the original transients to come through. Joshua applies just 1 decibel of gain reduction, using the compressor primarily for its transformers, which introduce varying tones of harmonic distortion. He sets the transformer to steel, the most distorted option, providing an extremely tight boost in the low frequencies. The third plugin is Blackbox, named after and modeled on the renowned hardware saturation unit. As I hover over the settings, you can see the exact configuration Joshua used in his mix of Yeah Yeah by Lady London. In this particular mix, he also applies EQ to tame the low end from the kick drum. The next 2 plugins in the chain are used selectively, only when the drums need extra flavor. The first is Spiff, a spectral transient processor. Unlike a conventional transient shaper that applies an envelope across the entire frequency spectrum, Spiff allows you to target specific transients within defined frequency ranges. Joshua uses the preset Tom Large, which emphasizes the transients, particularly in the top end. A critical detail here though is that the mix amount is set to just 2%, keeping the effect extremely subtle. Lastly, there's Spectra by Waves Factory, a plugin that combines saturation with a graphical parametric EQ. Joshua uses this to add harmonic richness in targeted frequency bands. A similar effect can be achieved with FabFilter's Saturn thanks to its multiband capabilities. The theme of this chain is 90% harmonic distortion with some subtle envelope shaping from Spiff. Compression and EQ are barely doing anything in this example, which might deviate from your typical understanding of a drum bus. Joshua recently collaborated with Cradle Audio to release a plugin called Orion, which consolidates his entire drum bus processing chain and NLS trick into a single interface. While this approach is less modular, it can be beneficial for those who prefer a simpler workflow. Here's an A/B comparison of the chain we just covered versus the dry signal and Orion. Before Joshua sends his drums through this chain, he runs them through a series of 8 NLS plugins. This step adds a psychoacoustic low-end enhancement, which I explain in detail in this short video. Thank you for watching.